and then I just started going on TikTok, and I was like, you know what? This is something I've always kind of been wanting to do. Why don't I just go do it, get out of my comfort zone, do something that's for me for once, and I've actually been really enjoying it. It gives me something to look forward to every day instead of just like, oh, well, let me just wait and sob all day and wait for, somebody to get back to me about an application I submitted 3 weeks ago. Start content creation. Even if you don't want to show your face doing content, people color, people cook. You don't even have to show your face when you're cooking. Just show your hands, show where you're going on vacation. Like, social media is the new thing, the new income now.
You're absolutely right.
It's supposed to get bigger and larger, and a lot of people don't know is that by 2030 it's actually supposed to be bringing in over $630 billion.
Somehow the tech's going to catch up to where you're back in the setting, and so you're in a three-dimensional environment instead of looking at the 2D screen.
Wow,
it's interesting, and I don't know if that's true, but he thinks, now that meta glasses are pretty common, it'll be about 8 to 10 years for the technology to get that good. But he predicts that it'll be so immersive that we won't want to take our glasses off.
Pretty much say that your youth pretty much starts when you're like around your 30s and 40s. Like, that's when it really starts. Like, your 20s are for learning and growing, and then once you get your 30s and 40s, it's when like, all right, let's get to it.
That's true.
And so I'm like, okay, Gary. That's how I was able to grow my content so quick, my page, because I was able to go in those rooms and engage with other moms that are in the same position as me, or stay-at-home moms, because I can relate to that. Being a stay-at-home mom, having children, things along those lines. So I would connect with those pages and things along those lines. And the lady I would go in her TikTok live, she's like, you can even go live. Even if I wanted to go live and start engagement rooms, I could do that well. Of course, it takes a couple of months because you have to grow your audience and things along those lines. But she was like, I would make $9,000 in a week. And I'm just going to tell everybody that that's what I'm doing. And, on my page, like, I'm doing Favor. And if you watch the beginning of the video, I'm kind of getting a little choked up, like, saying it. But I'm like, if I say it, like, it's out there. Like, I'm not going to take it down. I'm going to leave it because people with full-time jobs are doing what I'm doing with Favor on top of their full-time job. So they're working 40 hours a week and then clocking in at 6 p.m. and getting home at 10 p.m. just to put food on the table. So I make sure my algorithm is motivational, about God, about tips and tricks on how to grow on TikTok. And so I see that all day. And as I was scrolling, your message popped up and I was like, oh my gosh. It's not about your following. Like, you can have 1 million, 2 million followers, but if your community isn't there, if people aren't saying, well, Jessica has 1 million followers, but she uploaded this really hateful video, nobody's gonna like it, nobody's gonna comment on it, because that's not right. So you want to make sure you're being your real self, you're doing good content, you're doing it for, you're showing who your real self, is, and things along those lines.
What do you think the meaning of life is? Like, what's this all about? So they say that we're in the age of authenticity. And I think that what that means is everybody's craving for people to be real. They want people who aren't fake. So today's guest is exactly that. I think she connects to people, especially stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads, people who have maybe lost a job, they're raising their kids, they're in the side gig economy, but they've made the best of it. She's done that, and she's decided to get into content creation on TikTok, and her page is growing. She's quite amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jess Rubio.
We rise, we inspire. Forged by fire, turn the pressure into power. For real. Bills burn. Yeah, we rise, we inspire. Forged by fire, turn the pressure into power. For real.
Boom! We're back in the saddle, as they say. We got another special guest, guys. This is the Cutrer Report. I'm with another special guest. This is a fellow content creator in San Angelo. This is Jess Rubio.
Yes.
Thank you, Jess, for coming in.
Of course.
Awesome. So I saw you first on TikTok. So you have a TikTok. You have a lot of followers. You have over 10,000 followers, which that's a lot.
Yes.
And you do content about local stuff like San Angelo. You do content about your personal life, kind of what you've gone through. And what I like about your content is I feel like you are very genuine. You're authentic. You're not trying to be somebody different that you're not.
Yes.
And I like that. They say it's the age of authenticity.
Yes.
Like, people are craving that.
Exactly.
So when I saw you, I was like, man, I really like her. I wonder if she'll come on. So for those who don't know you, address the audience, look into that camera and tell them who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I am a recent stay-at-home mom, and I create content as this on the side currently. And yeah, Matt invited me here today, so we're just gonna go over a little bit of what my life has been like starting on social media and how it started and what it's been like for me.
Perfect.
Yes.
That's great. Cool. So the other thing that I right off the bat kind of hit me was that I could relate to you. I saw your first video I saw. You said, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I just lost my job 6 months ago. And you were kind of trying to think of ways to make extra income.
Yes.
And I've personally been in the same boat. So I was in the same boat. I had to shut my gym down in 2022, like I was telling you earlier.
Right.
And I kind of had like a crisis because I was the gym guy, the fitness guy. And I had a background in media and stuff, but I hadn't done it in over a decade. And so I was like, what am I going to do? And so I started working at a local gym, training some clients still, because I love to train clients. I'll always do that. But then I started side gigging. Like, they say it's the age of the side gig economy. So I was doing Uber. I did Uber Eats. I did Favor. I did DoorDash.
Yeah.
I was doing anything I could, And so talk about that a little bit to start off. Like, where did you work, if you want to talk about that? And then how did you lose your job, and what did that feel like?
Yeah, so I got hired on as a contract worker. I can't really go into details because I did sign in through a contract and things along those lines. But probably right before the holidays, October 31st, they were like, that's going to be your last day. And obviously everyone's devastated because it's the holidays. Everyone's getting ready, spending money, and everyone's like, well, what are we going to do? And, I kind of just had this over sense of like, everything's going to be okay. And I was like, okay, well, here we go. And and then after unemployment, came and, I collected, kept looking. And it gets to a point where you're like, okay, nobody's calling me back. Nobody's emailing me. Nobody's giving me anything after all these applications. And application isn't just like, okay, put in your resume. No, they have you do like tests. They have you do multiple interviews, and then going from there, not hearing anything, or hearing something a week, 2 weeks later, and then they'll be like, sorry, we went with another candidate. It gets very depressing, So it got to a point where I was like, I'm just going to start doing Favor. Just go do something small for now. And that's what I've been doing just as a side thing until I do find something more permanent, and being at home with my daughter again. She's always been with me. Even when I did work from home, she's been with me. So that's just, and then I just started going on TikTok, and I was like, you know what? This is something I've always kind of been wanting to do. Why don't I just go do it, get out of my comfort zone, do something that's for me for once, and I've actually been really enjoying it. It gives me something to look forward to every day, instead of just like, oh, well, let me just wait and sob all day and wait for, somebody to get back to me about an application I submitted 3 weeks ago, knowing that they're probably going to tell me, no, I'm not going to get the job, or you're overqualified, or you're not qualified enough, or you don't have a degree in this, and things along those lines. So, it's just giving me something to look forward to, and I think it's really good for the ones who are like, well, I don't have a hobby. Like, what do I do? Like, I kind of lost myself in motherhood. Like, what is there to do? Start content creation. Even if you don't want to show your face doing content, people color, people cook. You don't even have to show your face when you're cooking. Just show your hands, show where you're going on vacation. Like, social media is the new thing, the new income now.
You're absolutely right.
It's supposed to get bigger and larger, and a lot of people don't know is that by 2030, it's actually supposed to be bringing in over $630 billion by 2030.
Wow,
yes,
I believe it.
And then with AI taking over, it's here to stay, whether we like it or not. It's here to stay.
It is.
So I was like, either you hop on the bandwagon or you don't. And obviously, there's going to be pros and cons with it.
For sure,
Just like when their internet first came out and their computers first came out, I'm sure there were people like, oh, I don't like this. This is new. We don't like this technology. Well, look at it now.
That's right.
So,
Those are really interesting points, because I feel like a lot of people watching can relate to this right here.
Yes.
So we're going to cut the live, though. You're going to have to tune in, because this is going to get very interesting. We'll see you soon. Take care. So we're still rolling, but we'll keep going. The live's cut, though, now.
Okay.
So what you said, there's so much to break down there. And that's so interesting that you said that. And where I want to start is sort of the end of what you said is about social media continuing to grow.
Yes.
And that, like you said, more and more people are starting to jump on this and realize, hey, this is a good form of income.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I watched something recently. Do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, Gary V?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. He's like, for those who don't know, he's like the guru of social media. He started a wine company way back 20 years when YouTube was kind of new and kind of took off. And he mentors people on how to grow their business through social media.
And how to, like, pretty much say that your youth pretty much starts when you're, like, around your 30s and 40s. Like, that's when it really starts. Like, your 20s are for learning and growing, and then once you get your 30s and 40s, it's when, like, all right, let's get to it.
That's
true. And so I'm like, okay, Gary.
I know. Yeah,
so,
that's interesting. So he was on a podcast. I can't remember the name of it. It's a lady who runs it, and I just caught my attention because the opening statement, she said that he said that he thinks we're getting close to the tail end of social media via the screen, the phone. And I was like, there's no way. Like, this is just getting going. And so I was like, I'm going to watch this. And so I was like, what does he mean? And what he said was he thinks what's coming is we're getting tired of looking at the screen time, looking at the screen, the two-dimensional screen. And so with the invention of the meta glasses, augmented reality, not virtual, but augmented, is going to become huge.
Yes.
So they think it's going to be so immersive. So an idea of what it's going to be like, according to him, is you have AI glasses on, and so do I, right? We have meta glasses on. And then we have a third person in the room on this podcast who's at their house, but they're augmented in, so you and I can see them and they can see us.
They feel like they're right here with you, like in the same seat.
Yes. And so he's saying, in a sense, that it can be recorded, and then we can play it back. But when you play it back at your house, somehow the tech's going to catch up to where you're back in the setting, and you're in a three-dimensional environment instead of looking at the 2D screen.
Wow,
it's interesting, and I don't know if that's true, but he thinks, now that meta glasses are pretty common, it'll be about 8 to 10 years for the technology to get that good. But he predicts that it'll be so immersive that we won't want to take our glasses off.
Yeah.
That we're going to feel like we're missing too much. And so I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to touch on, you said about AI, and one of the things Gary Vee said was that some research is showing that like up to 50% of engagement on certain platforms are bots, AI bots. So that's what he attributed to people losing interest in social media, because if there's so many bots, we're losing that engagement from other human beings. We're going to get disinterested in it. But I don't think that's the case. I think AI is going to do something different, and I don't know what it is, but let's touch on that a little bit, because you brought it up. What role do you think AI will have with social media? Do you think it'll be good or bad? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, from what I've learned being on TikTok the past couple of months, that obviously, if you know about TikTok monetization, it's pretty much a ways of you can make money off of doing TikTok. It's TikTok Shop, TikTok Live, just getting paid through TikTok, brand deals, things along those lines. The top TikTok Shop creator was a person using AI.
Really? Wow.
And these people are bringing in 6 figures a month.
Wow.
The ones who are doing TikTok Live are bringing in $9,000 a week. Just doing TikTok Live and helping other individuals grow their accounts. And that's how I was able to grow mine, because I would hop into these engagement rooms.
Talk about that. People will want to know that.
So they're called engagement rooms. And so what people will do is they'll hop in from a certain time. They'll tell you, hey, I'm going to be live from 8 to 12. And 20,000 people will show up. And, as time goes on, that's what they'll see. And they'll say, all right, guys, it's time to connect with people. And you'll click on somebody's profile, you'll scroll through their content, and if you feel like you can relate to them or you like their content, you'll follow. So it gives you more of like, okay, you're not just looking at people that have already made it on TikTok. You're seeing the smaller creators that are trying to make it on TikTok, where you do like their content and they are actually engaging with you, and they are going to your page as well and following you back and engaging on your content as well, saying, oh, that's so cool, I didn't know about that, I'm gonna have to visit here, things along those lines. So that's how I was able to grow my content so quick, my page, because I was able to go in those rooms and engage with other moms that are in the same position as me, or stay-at-home moms, because I can relate to that. Being a stay-at-home mom, having children, things along those lines. So I would connect with those pages and things along those lines. And the lady I would go in her TikTok Live, she's like, you can even go live. Even if I wanted to go live and start engagement rooms, I could do that well. Of course, it takes a couple of months because you have to grow your audience and things on those lines. But she was like, yeah, I would make $9,000 in a week, and I would just come in and just sit here for 4 hours, and my kids would be asleep, and my husband just get off work and take care of the kids while I do this for 4 hours. And
wow.
Yep, and people would obviously gift because they're able to grow their social media through her or through other pages, and so I would hop in there or other engagement pages and be like, okay, let's get this page growing, because I want to monetize off TikTok, and the only way to do that is if your following is either 1,000, 5,000, or 10,000.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, let's get this page growing, and at the end of the day, I do got to say this, it's not about your following.
Okay,
like you can have 1 million, 2 million followers, but if your community isn't there, if if people aren't saying, well, Jessica has 1 million followers, but she uploaded this really hateful video, nobody's gonna like it, nobody's gonna comment on it, because that's not right. Right.
Yep.
So you want to make sure you're being your real self, you're doing good content, you're doing it for, you're showing who your real self, is, and things along those lines. So
that's really good advice. That is such good advice. So I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday. She asked me, she ran into me, and she's like, hey, I saw a YouTube interview you did with Casey Jenkins. Shout out Casey Jenkins. And I said, yeah, did you like it? And she said, yeah. And she goes, let me ask you something. How do you make money off that? Is it monetized? And I started explaining, because this is a good conversation, actually, what you talked about, and I'm going to kind of segue here. So I said, yeah, so how it works sort of is, you're monetized on certain platforms like TikTok. I have monetized on there, and Facebook, and you get monetized on YouTube through AdSense. And for a long time, I thought in my head, okay, once we get to a certain level of viewerships or subscribers or followers, then you start making good revenue, right? What I didn't realize is there are so many different avenues to make revenue. And one of the ones that kind of came out, not of nowhere, but I wasn't thinking about, was the way I monetized first was locally through local businesses who could benefit off of, reels of mine going, semi-viral with their name attached to it, giving them a shout out in an episode if they're a sponsor, that kind of deal. And so I had to kind of rethink it, like, wait a second, this is not all about just monetizing on social media. And so I thought that was interesting. So I explained that to her, and she said, what's ridiculous though, is she said, you actually have good content. I said, thank you, I take pride in that. And she said, what's sad is there's all these like kids out there or people out there who do stupid crap, and they have millions of followers, millions of views, and it's just terrible content, but they make a lot of money from it. And I said, that is a shame. It really is, but that's just the kind of the landscape of it.
Reality TV.
It's, oh my God, that's
and that's
good.
what people want. As much as we don't want it to be like that, we gotta give it to them. I gotta be more realistic about what's going in my life. Because if I don't tell them like, hey, Jessica looks really happy, but on the inside, like, I'm still struggling, like I'm still, processing it, losing my job and things along those lines. So it just was like, what, I'm just gonna tell everybody that that's what I'm doing. And, on my page, like, I'm doing Favor, and if you watch the beginning of the video, I'm kind of getting a little choked up like saying it, but I'm like, if I say it, like, it's out there. Like, I'm not going to take it down. I'm going to leave it because people with full-time jobs are doing what I'm doing with Favor on top of their full-time jobs. So they're working 40 hours a week and then clocking in at 6 p.m. and getting home at 10 p.m. just to put food on the table.
Exactly right.
If I'm doing that just to pay my bills, like, I want to show them that I'm also a real person. I'm not just somebody that's just here for the money. I got to go out and make money, because when you go into social media, you have to go in knowing you're not going to make money right away. You got to do it not for the money. You got to do it for yourself.
That's right.
Put yourself out there and fall in love with the game, not just for the money, because the money's going to come eventually.
You're dropping wisdom here. That's good.
So the money will come eventually. You just got to put in the work. And then if you put in the work, you'll start seeing your results. You'll start seeing, more of a community come in that actually really like you for who you are. And I think that's what we need.
You have hit it on the head. I'll tell you why you're successful and you're going to succeed beyond, like crazy. And I knew this. As soon as I saw you, I knew this. And it's what you just said, is that you realized right out of the gates that you needed to connect with the audience by being authentic and not being afraid to express what you're going through, because you realize others are at least going through that or worse, like you said.
Yes, there's millions of people out there that have been affected by the economy, the layoffs, this past year. Like, we're not the only ones struggling. And I think if we tell other people that I'm going through it too, they feel like they're not alone.
That's right.
And so it kind of pushed me to be like, okay, you know, I kind of been thinking like maybe I should just make a video of me doing groceries. And then another part was like, no, don't do that. But then I just got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to post that video. And that day I was really struggling emotionally because I was like, what did I do? Why did I do that? Because I'm not the type of person to share my struggles or things like I figure it out on my own, you know, and I don't want people to be like, oh, I feel sorry for Jessica. Like, I don't want people to do that because it's just a part of life. And so that day I was like having a rough day, and then you messaged me and like,
whoa, that day,
that's
weird.
That day, like if you go back on, you know, see the date of our messages, and then you go to the video that you had mentioned about me doing, I posted the video that day, and that day I was like emotional, I was crying and like things along those lines, and like worrying, and then like you messaged me, I'm like, there's no way like that you out of all people like I got invited to be on a podcast. You know, I would have never thought in a million years.
I'll tell you what's so crazy about hearing that right now. So like what's weird about that is like seeing your video, like I was just for some reason randomly in this headspace. This is why I know that it's orchestrated by a greater power. Because I was just randomly in this headspace where like I was like, I wonder who's out there, a creator who's really doing something interesting. And then it just popped up, and I was like compelled to invite you on. And it wasn't like I'd already looked into you or anything, and I usually do that. So that's how I know that it was something bigger than both of us.
Yes, and that's I had been praying, and I was like, God, give me a sign if this is meant for me. Like, just give me a sign, anything. Like, just give me something. And then like I was just sitting there scrolling on TikTok, learning, obviously, because I grew my algorithm to be motivational, to keep going, because if my algorithm isn't like that, I get in a headspace where I'm like, maybe this isn't for me. So I make sure my algorithm is motivational, about God, about tips and tricks on how to grow on TikTok. And so I see that all day, and as I was scrolling, your message popped up, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is
like,
a clear
that is
sign.
God talking to me. Like
clearly.
Like, hello,
That's
Jessica.
So cool.
Yes.
And I love that.
I also do want to mention, I know it's going to sound crazy, and I'll show you the video after we get done, but I want to say it was back in April. I had came across a video on TikTok, and he's all like, I know there's people out there that are wanting to grow their page or grow on social media or start. And they're like, and when you're in that headspace where you just want to give up and you don't want to do it, he's like, you need to start thinking, when you do get to a point where you're kind of making it on TikTok, if you get invited to a podcast, the things you would say, and go over it in your head, and go over it and keep going over the things, like if you're being interviewed. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna save that. And I went through today, I was like, I know I saved that video. I went through and I found it.
That's
and
crazy.
So I was like, and I've been doing that. I've been kind of like going in there like, okay, if I was on a podcast, like what would I say? What would I tell people? How I got started and things along those lines. And
wow, that is so crazy. So that also speaks to, I feel like, you know, for you to take the step back then to take it serious enough to prepare yourself. I don't think a lot of people would take that step. They'd be like, well, if it happens, I'll prepare then. But you prepared yourself thinking, okay, this opportunity is going to come. You know, it was already in your head that it was going to come, if you think about it. Why else would you prepare? You know, and then it just came to fruition randomly. I mean,
and I'm the type of person that if I really, really want something, I'm gonna get it.
I love that.
Really want something. And you can ask anyone in my family, like even when I got my remote job that I was just laid off from, people were like, maybe you just need to stick your baby in daycare and just go work at Walmart or go work, you know, at McDonald's, just to do something, just besides stay home, go make money somewhere. You're not going to find a remote job. And I was like, no, I am. I am going to find a remote job, and it's going to take time, but I am going to get there. And I got a remote job, and I was able to go on different trips, New York City, Colorado.
Oh, it was like a really good,
to the beach. Yes, I was making a little over $21 an hour, so I was, you know, all the benefits, PTO, things like that. So it was good, like a really good paying job, you know, for being at home, and I was able to keep my baby at home. So I was like, I did it, and I was able to prove everyone that was doubting me wrong. And I feel like I'm right there in my, I guess, flow of being on social media, because I still do get the side eye, or the kind of like, I can tell they're kind of like, is she really doing this TikTok thing? Or like, you know, I know they don't want to say something, but I know it's there. Or I'll get that little, just getting her silly little TikTok videos. And
I get the same thing.
And like, I kind of joke with my husband, because he's like, you know, he's used to a 9 to 5. He's a man, you know, they're programmed we're supposed to be programmed to be like, okay, you're going to work a 9 to 5 and that's it. You're going to retire at 70.
The American education system is for, to develop good factory workers.
Yes, exactly. So he's, in his head, he's all like, there's no way they're making money. There's no way. You know,
that's what you think, right?
And so I told him, I go, okay, I'm gonna bring us back to this conversation when you're driving a brand new truck because my TikTok paid for it. And he's like,
that's
okay.
so cool. Yeah.
And so I told him, I was like, just wait. I was like, you just got to give me time.
Absolutely.
I was like how it took me time to find a remote job, and you had told me to just, maybe it's not meant for you to work from home. And I did work from home. And I was like, it's manifesting, it's praying in God, it's seeing myself already there in that position. Like to me, I've already made it on TikTok big time. I'm already there, but I'm not, obviously. But I have to manifest. I see myself there.
Yes.
It's that or
you
nothing.
And I have something in common that's kind of rare. There are many people who have this, but you and I share it. And we both believe, and I'm stealing this from a guest that I've had on recently who's an expert in manifestation and inner child healing, which he believes is a big part of being able to manifest. Is that he said, I believed when I was a kid, like most kids do, but I still believe that the world is a magical place. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he was like, I believe that there's still magic. Like I believe that, so manifestation kind of seems like a magical thing, but it's really not if you break it down. But I believe, so what we share is that we believe it so strongly that when other people doubt it, instead of us losing faith in what we believe in, they start to believe in what we're saying, right? And that's rare. That's somebody who's kind of got vision, and not in a woo-woo way, but somebody who can envision manifestation really occurring and believe it so wholeheartedly that you're changing other people and convincing other people of it.
It's real.
We need those kind of people, you know?
It's real.
It's
if you see yourself doing something and you wholeheartedly believe it, like with your soul, that it's that or nothing else, you'll get there. But you have to stay right there. Don't steer off. Just stay on that path. If that's what I'm going to go get, that's what I'm going to do, and it's going to come. Sooner or later, it will come to you if it's meant for you. And
for sure.
That's how it's kind of always been. Once I've stepped in that realm of like, okay, I'm going to pray to God. Of course, He's going to be my guide through this, because without Him, it's not possible. And so I've just stuck with that, and everything I wanted, I really, really wanted, it has came to me.
Same here. I just told my fiance that I said, after I talked to his name is Ning Lee. I told her after the conversation, I said, you know what's interesting? I just realized after talking to him that I've been manifesting since I was a kid. Like I thought about all these experiences that I had that were like, that I wanted so bad to happen, you know? And I wanted them so bad that it was like a part of my identity. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it became part of me. And I thought back to it and I was like, I've been doing this. Like, it's so crazy. And you touched on something else about the algorithm that I thought was interesting. You said that you intentionally watch things or make sure that stuff comes in front of you that is in line with your vision, that's motivational, that's teaching you something, right? Because, of course, we can all have doubts. And if you have stuff coming in front of you that's doubtful and putting negative thoughts in your mind, it can easily sidetrack you. So that, I think, is really interesting, because I find myself every once in a while going off on into a rabbit hole that can be negative because I'm searching for some kind of truth. Then I start seeing a bunch of that, though, and it gets me like down, and I have to kind of reevaluate. And so, I mean, how important do you think that is making sure that what you're watching is aligned with your vision?
I think it's very important. I think if you have a really good set algorithm of motivational, because that's the top content creation right now, is being motivational. Yes. So if you're telling, because of what the world is going through right now, someone's looking for some type of motivation to go do something for the better.
Darn right.
And so obviously I'm gonna hop on that and be like, I need that, because the people around me that don't do this or working a 9 to 5 are like already kind of doubted me in a way, and they don't have to say it, but I see it. I can tell, like, you don't have to tell me, oh, Jessica, I don't believe in you, but I can see it in your face. If I'm like, oh, so I kind of just stopped talking about my TikTok. If somebody doesn't bring it up, then I'm not gonna talk about it, because it's not on their path. It's not what they're doing. It's what I'm doing. And so if they bring it up like, oh, how is that? Then I'll talk about it, and I'm going to be real with them about it. But it's going to have its ups and downs. But one thing I did see recently was, like, when you go down, like your numbers go down, it's going to come back up faster. But you have to keep going, because it's like a roller coaster. But you got to keep going, because in the end, you're going to look back and be like, wow, like I got through all this, doing just sticking to what I really wanted to do.
That's right.
And I think you really need a lot of positivity when you are going through something like this, because it's very easy, like you had mentioned earlier, to steer away from that with just one person's comment, like, well, why are you doing that? You know, what is that for? Like, I don't understand it. They don't understand it because they're not doing it.
That's right.
You know, and I'm like, well, I'm going to be the one to prove you wrong. So, yeah.
Man, I love that so much. So, you know, if you had to say in a nutshell, you know, what your content is about and who it's for, what would you say?
I would say it's mainly for the ones that are struggling to put themselves out there a little bit more, because I was there too, and I'm still working through that. You know, people are like, well, that's cringy. I don't want people to know my personal life. Well, guess what? They're not paying my bills.
Exactly.
They're not the one delivering groceries. They're not the one filling out the job applications. They're not the one spending hours editing my videos. They're not the one capturing what I'm going through, you know, on their phone. It's me doing the work. It's not them doing it. It's me, Jessica. Like, it's not them. So I want to show people that you can do this being a mom. You can do this even if you don't have kids. I think it would be great even if you didn't have kids to hop on it, because it would give you more time to focus on what you are there supposed to be doing for yourself, you know, because obviously if you do have children, it can be a little harder, because, you know, your focus needs to also be on them, not just on your social media. So right now I just do 2 to 3 videos a day. Sometimes they're like 7 seconds. Sometimes they're 2 minutes. So I try to keep it within the 1 to 2 minute, you know, link, because like you said earlier, the long videos tend to not do that good sometimes. So like when I first started, I was like, well, how am I gonna, like, you have to put like a good catch to it, because if you don't have something, you know, for them to stick with, they're just gonna scroll, because that's what TikTok is, you know, doom scrollers. And if they like your page enough, then maybe they'll follow you. So it's like, at first I was growing my page what they call organically, where you're just getting people to follow you if they like you. But I saw these engagement rooms and I was like, I'm gonna hop in here, and if I see somebody that I find interesting and I like their page or I like what they're posting, I'm gonna follow them. You know, because that's what we need. That's what it's about, growing a community together. And eventually you will get up to where you see all these other big creators like, well, I want to be like them someday. I want to have a big podcast like them someday. And you will. You just have to start somewhere and keep going. And the more you go and the more you push through it, you'll look back and be like, I love that I went through that, because it put me where I'm at today.
Ooh, something just hit me. Something just hit me. So in a way, you and I wonder if there are levels you get to where this comes back again. I bet it does. But in a way, you and I are in a similar situation, in a similar place, because we're growing a social media page or whatever, you know, social media concept. And we've reached a, you know, a certain point with some success, and we're starting to realize, okay, this is definitely happening. We're doing well. We're getting engagement. Like, we feel strong about our content, that we're providing something of quality for the world. But I bet you, just like you've said it, I have doubt creep in every once in a while where I'm like, man, maybe this is not the path, you know, and I start doubting myself, and then I'll ask for a sign or something, and I talk to God, and sure enough, I'll get something that's like confirms, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But I wonder, like, I feel like right now, and you might feel this way, that I've hit a certain threshold, and I'm like, how do you push through to the next level? Like, what do I do to monetize it a little bit better so I'm making real money that I can live on? Like, I feel like I'm stuck right there. Do you feel like that? Or do you feel like,
So I get to that point. Yes, sometimes I'm like, okay, when is it going to start benefit? And I don't want to sound, you know, like, I'm grateful about it. And I'm like, but when does it start benefiting me?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I've learned to just keep, I know it sounds cliche because everyone, but just keep posting and make your connections with people. It's even got to a point where I've seen videos where they're like, a lot of these brands are dealing with millions and millions of creators, to where you're like this tiny little fish in the sea. Sometimes it takes that tiny fish to jump out and say, hey, I'm here, can you give me an opportunity to work with you? And majority of the time they'll get them.
So I didn't know that.
So I've reached out to brands before, and you know,
that's good right there, Jess.
So that's how I became an ambassador for American Eagle with Morphe, and with Thayer's, you know, that's like a beauty thing. So, you know, they give me, like, they'll send you PR, they'll send you free stuff, and sometimes it takes you to be the one to say, hey, I want an opportunity too. And then be like, oh, they'll go through your content, they'll have their person say, okay, go through their social media, see if we like them, and see what their audience is saying in the comments, because that's what they don't want to see your numbers. That's what they don't look at your numbers.
Dude, you're dropping
They
gold.
look at your
Okay.
community.
Yeah, that
so
makes sense.
they're like, hey, Matt has a good community. He's very well known in San Angelo for having a podcast. How about we put Red Bull as a sponsor? How about we put something, as a sponsor, you know, Coca-Cola, like, hey, we're going to be drinking Coca, things along those lines. Because I do watch podcasts, and I do see where, they do mention a little ad in the middle of the video. Hey, they're sponsoring us today. Make sure you check them out. Here's a discount code, things along those lines. But sometimes it takes us to reach out to them.
You just taught me something.
Yes.
I feel like you opened a door for me. Because, in a way, I do that with local sponsors, but in my head, I'm like, I'm nowhere near, relevant or big enough to get a big sponsor. But you're right. Like, why wouldn't they be looking for opportunities to help someone grow their platform that could be something great?
And there's people that are like, maybe have like 2,000 followers that have brand deals and are bringing in $6,000 a week just working with brands.
I've heard that there are some creators who have 50,000, 100,000 followers who make $100 a month, and then there are some who have 2 to 5, 5,000 followers who are making $20,000 a month.
Yeah, and it's all because the brand really likes them, and they want to put their name in front of your social media. They want to say, hey, we support them, we'll support each other, and then y'all come and support us. Yeah, type of deal. So
what I like about you is that you're not afraid to like take big risks. I feel like and believe that anything's possible. Or have you always been that way?
Yes, I've always been the type to just do it.
Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy, and I even mentioned this to my mother-in-law. She watches this later. I remember sitting with her and talking. She's like, I've never moved out of my hometown, because she lives in a small town. And she's like, I've never lived anywhere outside. I've never lived in other states. And in my past, I have lived in different states, and I was like, sometimes you have to just do it, and it's not going to always be butterflies and rainbows, but it's a part of life. It's experiences. I want to look back when I'm 80 and being like, oh yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, I've lived there. Yeah, I've took a road trip there, or I vacationed there before with my family, or I've done that already. Here's the advice I can give you on what to do and what not to do. And that's something I want to give to my daughter and be like, you're young, experience life now before, whether you decide to settle down and have kids or get married, things on, like, live for you, because we only get one life. Yeah. Once it's gone, it's gone. You don't get that again. So I'm just like, I'm just going to do it, because I could die tomorrow, and then I'm going to, people are going to look back and be like, why didn't I just do it? Jessica did. Like, Jessica was the type to just do it and just get out of her comfort zone, even though she wasn't the type to make conversation with just anybody, because I'm still kind of learning to, get out of my shell. Like, I want them to be like, I'm going to start living like Jessica lived. Like,
That's
just
cool.
do it,
Yeah. So, have you, let me ask you a couple of questions that I think will be pretty telling. So, since you could remember, do you feel like, and be honest, do you feel like the world is like an inherently evil place or good place? Do you feel like people are mostly good or mostly evil?
I think there's good in everybody.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
I think there's good in everybody, but the evil in the world brings out the evil in other people, and it shouldn't. But it does. Yeah. And I think that's where we need to turn towards God. Yeah. Because that's, we need it. With God is who we are, that with Him in us, we got to live through Him. He's in us. So we have to say, what would God do? Right. How would we treat this person? Yeah. Why would we go about this situation? Are you going to let the evil win? Or are you going to do what would God do?
I think you're right about that. The fact that we're they say we're born as sinners, but I think people are mostly good, but every single person has the ability to be evil, like you're saying. And like you just said it, other evil brings that out of people, unfortunately. And the other question I was going to ask you, have you always been pretty optimistic and felt like things were going to work out, or have you been kind of pessimistic, kind of like, oh, doomsday type deal?
Well, yeah. I feel like if we're human, so we're going to think of the what ifs. Right, yeah. No matter what. No matter whether we have all the money in the world, whether we're at, because that's where we put ourselves at. So every day, of course, it's going to cross my mind like, well, maybe this isn't for me. But I gotta be like, no, it is for me. This is what I wanted. And I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna keep doing this because this is what I wanted. This is what Jessica wanted. Why am I gonna get this far and be like, okay, that's it. Throw the towel in. I give up. No, I'm not gonna give up, because I told myself, I made a promise to myself, Jessica, this is what you're gonna do. You gotta stick to it now. Yeah. And I feel like a little bit in a ways you're gonna get to where you're gonna doubt yourself, like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I don't want to go down this route. but you got to stay positive. You got to be like, look at the end, the light at the end of the tunnel. You're barely opening the first door, but you're not seeing that light, but you got to imagine the light, and you got to imagine that it's there waiting for you. And so you open all these doors to get to your final door, and you're in your final door, but you don't know it's your final door. You don't know that the light's right there. So you got to keep going, because it might be your final door to get to the light.
You think it's going to open and it's going to be more darkness, but the next one is the light.
And even if it is more darkness, you got to keep going.
That's right.
You got to keep
it's
going.
there, right? It's eventually going to be there.
It is there. Yes, you just got to keep thinking about it, like, I'm about to get there. I'm about to get there. So keep pushing.
That's a good mindset, I feel like, to have. Yeah. That's cool. And also, I wanted to mention, you said, because I relate it to this too, and I know a lot of people do, is right now with the economy the way it is, people losing their jobs is, they're qualified, they have a lot of experience. I felt like that. I had good jobs. I have a degree, college degree, and after shutting down my gym, I did what you did. I started applying to all these different, you name the industry, right? And all kinds of positions on LinkedIn, on Indeed, and would get callbacks and interviews, and they'd go with somebody else, emails, we went with somebody else. And I'm talking, I'd do like 20 a day. And no after no, or no feedback at all. And eventually I'm just like, what is going on? I've never had this trouble getting a job. And that's just how it is right now. And so you seem very qualified, and you went through that, right? You just kept getting no's or turned down or no response at all.
Yes.
And you finally were like, well, I guess I have to take it into my own hands. I got to do something.
Exactly.
And so what would you say to people who are experiencing that right now? They keep getting no's. They can't find their next good job. They're thinking about maybe jumping into something like content creation. What would you tell them?
I would tell them to just do it. Even if if I were to tell myself right now, I wish I would have started sooner.
Nice.
I wish I would have started whenever they told me, hey, we're going to lay you off this day. I wish that would have been the day, because I feel like I would have been a lot farther than what I was. But I feel like, God put me in this position for a reason. He had me start when I started, because I feel like it lit a fire inside of me to push even harder. What if I started, when they told me they were laying me off, and I just gave up because I was going through a roller coaster of emotions with my layoff. So seeing my first video, like if you go through my TikTok, seeing the first video, it kind of hit about 10K views, and it like lit a fire inside me. I was like, it's that easy. So I was like, I'm going to start posting, and I went from 10K to 100 views, and then I went to 200 views, and I was like, what is going on? So it's not that easy. And so what I didn't realize is that when TikTok was getting taken over by another company called Oracle, the algorithm for everybody was all over the place. Nobody was getting views. Nobody was really bringing in the traffic, their audience that they're used to. Nobody's videos were getting put on the FYP, what they call the For You page. And so it wasn't just me that it was affecting. So I would get in these engagement rooms, and people are like, why isn't my video getting that many views? It's only gotten 50 views today. And they're like, you just got to keep posting. And you post so much to where the people that don't like you end up liking you, because they see you so much, and they're like, oh, you know what, that person isn't that bad.
I can't tell you how many times that has happened to me, where I somebody kind of turned me off or something, and I'm like, I don't like whatever, and then I'll see them again and again, and finally they say something that kind of makes me think of them differently. I connect with them, or I'm like, I kind of like that, and then I like become a fan.
Yes, it just takes that one time.
Yeah, it's interesting that as humans we think if somebody's turned off by us, they don't like us, forget them, that we're done. But it really doesn't take that much to win someone over. It's what people don't realize, right?
As long as you're giving them something that benefits them, whether it makes them laugh, whether you connect with them on certain type of level, whether it's with the job that you've had, your financial situation, your emotional situation, whatever it is, it just takes that one video for you to talk about it, for them to be like, oh, wow, I relate to that. I'm going to follow them, I'm going to like the video, and I'm going to keep watching what they're posting.
Man, so, I think the best advice you've given so far, though, and this is so big, is you said when you got into this, I like how you thought it through, and you made this your goal, not just something, I'm going to try it, whatever, but you were like, okay, I'm committed. But you said that you can't make it about the money. It can't be about, I can't wait till I just want to get to where I'm making money, or, about the relevance or the attention you're getting, whatever. It's got to be about something that's grounded in something real. Like you're providing something of, like you just said, of quality to other people, whether that's, educational, inspirational, whatever it is, you're providing some kind of quality. That's got to be the root of it all. Because whenever the views are down, whenever people aren't talking, or you get bad comments or whatever, you got to be able to lean back on your why. Why did you start? What's driving you?
Yes.
And it's that. Lean back on, okay, I know why I'm doing this. And for me personally, it's, our tagline is extraordinary stories about ordinary people. Is providing a platform for everyday ordinary people to come on and tell an extraordinary story about their life,
Yes.
And we need more of that. And I think you're just in a really unique spot as a content creator in San Angelo because you're so authentic and you're providing real quality to people, to other moms. And I cannot wait to see where this goes for you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you're doing an amazing thing
Thank
here
you.
and connecting with others, just like you that are learning to grow or wanting to grow and build a community out in San Angelo, because everyone thinks of San Angelo and they're like, people who have lived here who are natives are like, oh, it's just San Angelo.
I know,
like
right,
it's
yeah.
not, but I feel like there's opportunity here, and whether we like it or not, it's gonna get big.
Yeah.
And it is getting bigger.
It is.
And yeah, there are seasons where people are like, well, I don't like what they're doing with this. And of course, we're all going to have those naysayers. But if you're living here, you're probably going to stay here unless you plan on moving. So you might as well enjoy the things that are here.
That's how I feel.
And so obviously I'm living here. And since I started content creation, something just kind of told me to go around San Angelo and see the new places that I've never seen before and make content out of it. And so I've been able to go to like different stores or places to eat that I've never gone to, make content, and then I put it on my page, and that's where I connect with the community here in San Angelo, because somebody's always wanting something to do in San Angelo, because there's not a whole lot if you think about it. But if I'm able to say, oh yeah, this place is over here, they have all these things, and people are like, oh, I didn't even know that was there, that's benefiting them. So they're going to follow me. They're going to like my content because I benefited them with that kind of thing. So that's why I started posting, little things of, small boutiques or a restaurant or a clothing store, things along those lines. Like, I've always spent my money, willingly. I've never just been like, oh, give me this free item and I'll put you. No. Yeah. I'm going to give you an honest review of what I think about your business, because that's what you're giving out to every day-to-day person. I'm not going to be in here every day. Right. I'm just in here this one time, and if I like you enough, if I like your business enough, I'll come back and keep giving you my business and my money that I've, worked for. And so I've never reached out to somebody, to be like, oh, if you give me this for free.
I can't stand that.
So I haven't done that. Cool. Nobody has reached out to me. Now, if somebody were like, hey, what if we partner together? Maybe we'll,
but
do this for the community.
But to seek that out, like, here's what I can do for you if you'll do this for me. Like,
exactly. So I'm just like, no, I'll just go in there. And a lot of people obviously don't know I'm doing TikTok. They don't know I'm in there recording, because I don't go up with the camera up in their face. I wait till they're turned around, making the food, going off and doing it. And sometimes I will ask for permission if I need to. I feel like it's a little more crowded. I'm like, is it fine if I just do a little bit of vlogging? And usually majority of the time, like, oh yeah, that's fine. And then before I know it, I post it and people are commenting like, oh yeah, I know that business, or no, I've never been there, or oh my gosh, I love eating there, I'm going to go back, or I'm going to try that. And I'm just like, oh, pretty cool.
Yeah. I love that.
So I think I also got to connect with my community out in San Angelo, because this is where I reside.
That's right.
So, and a lot of people don't know San Angelo is a town in Texas. Like, we're like in the middle of Texas, kind of big, kind of small in a way. And there's always new people coming in. We have the Air Force Base. We have the college here where people come in from out of the country to go to school to attend. And then the lily pads, like the lily pad ponds that are central. People come from out of the country just to see those lily pads.
They do.
So like, if I am on TikTok and I post a video about something and somebody from out of the country is like, oh my gosh, I visited that place, and then it's on their algorithm, and then somebody from that country also sees it, then I'm connecting with people from that country as well. So I think it's just a community thing as well.
That's cool. So lastly, I ask everybody a few questions. The first one is, what are 3 things that you're genuinely grateful for right now in your life?
I would say my child.
Cool.
I would say being able to spend time with her. I know it's been rough for me looking for a job, but I feel like I'm grateful enough to be able to have spent this time with her, because not a lot of moms get to do that. They're having to go to work from 8 to 5, and then their kid is in daycare, or by the time they do get out of work, their kid is like already in bed asleep. So I'm grateful for having to have spent time with her. And then I'm also grateful for, I would say, just being alive and being able to do what I'm doing and being healthy. Yes. Amen
to that. And lastly, this is a new question, but I want to ask this. I'm going to start asking this because I think it's very telling what people say about this question, and I feel like I learned something. But what do you think the meaning of life is? Like, what's this all about?
I think Oh, that's a good
I
one.
know.
I think the meaning of life is just living for you, for yourself. You know, I'm here for me and my family, obviously, and I'm going to do what's best, you know, for me. You know, I'm not here to make sure Sally over here is like, well, Jessica's not doing good on TikTok. I'm not going to like her stuff. You know, I'm not here to worry about what you're thinking of me or the negative. I'm here to live and to live a life that's beautiful, because like I had said earlier, you could die tomorrow and people are going to be like, well, all they did was work a 9 to 5.
Exactly. It's your experience. I see what you're saying. Like, why do you care about what somebody else thinks about what you're doing? Like, who cares? Like, you're going to die.
Yeah, I would say the purpose of life is just to live.
Nice.
And live it through a way that you want to live it through, and not through what somebody wants you to live it through, because they're not doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So,
that's very good. Well, thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Yes, this was awesome. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And good luck. Lastly, real quick, what's your do you want to give out your TikTok? I'll put it on the screen as well, but do you want to give out?
Yes, my TikTok is at Jess912. It'll just be Jess, and then it will have like a pink heart emoji next to it.
Nice. Yes. Cool. All right, go follow Jess, y'all. She's got great content. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.
We rise, we inspire. Forged by fire, turn the pressure into power. For real.